Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. This is part 4 of our How to Stay Sane When Working From Home series. We're going to share some tips and tricks, technology tips and tricks about working from home. And we also are joined again by Ben Molina, City Councilman here in Corpus Christi. He's got some updates for us about how things are going in the city and things that might be really important for business owners to know and leaders in our community to know about during this quarantine and things like that. So Ben, thanks for joining us. I'm excited to have you on board today, and looking forward to what you have to say and maybe updating us on some of the things. We talked to you 2 weeks ago, and nowadays 2 weeks is like an eternity, and a lot of things change from week to week. So happy to have you on, and excited to kind of hear maybe some of the new things that we want to know about and where the city's at. So kind of similar to last week, give us an update. What's Corpus Christi's response been like to the COVID work from home and the quarantine?
Well, luckily this week we've had 2 days where we've had 0 new cases. So the stay-at-home ordinance is working, and we're going to continue to ask people to stay at home as much as they can until we get out of the stay-at-home order. I don't want to say that we're starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel, but there is an effort out there right now by some small business owners that are urging the city to lift the stay-at-home order, or at least modify it so that more businesses can be open. And of course, me being pro-business and several other members of the city council, we're all small business owners. And so we understand what the business community is going through right now. And we'd love nothing more than to have businesses reopen. But we don't want to jump the gun on it. There's still a lot of work to be done. And so, of course, we want to take that stuff into consideration, but we want to make sure that we do it in a safe manner. And we want to look out for, of course, the health, safety, and welfare of the general public. So we'll continue to get updates from the city manager, from the county judge, and from the health district. And again, those are happening every day at 5 o'clock, and you can go to the city's website. The city has a Facebook page. That's one that I personally use. I go on the city's Facebook page and watch the live updates as they come in at 5 o'clock. We did, as a city council, we did approve money for the small business recovery program. And so what that does is it created a program where we partnered with Lift Fund, and we had approved $1.7 million for small businesses. Now, our intent was to help those small businesses, the little local mom and pop shops. And so the cap on that, for the gross revenues, is set at $1.5 million. So if you make $1.5 million or less, you're eligible for this program. This is just a city effort, but there are other programs that the state is rolling out and the federal government are rolling out. And I believe those are also partnered with Lift Fund also. But that's just one of the things that we're doing as the city of Corpus Christi. One other thing is the Corpus Christi Regional Economic Development Corporation, or what we call the EDC for short. They've put together a comprehensive list on their website, and their website is ccredc.com. And that has a large list of different programs that are available to the small business owner. They talk about the city's Lift Fund partnership. They also have a small business survey where they want to find out how businesses are being affected at this time, some of that information gathering. And then there's just a list of resources from the city, the county, the port, and Del Mar Small Business Development Center, Workforce Solutions, the Workforce Commission, just a bunch of resources there for small businesses to get better informed and learn more about programs that they can take advantage of.
When you think
One
about
other,
I was gonna
no,
got
go.
a quick question. When you talk about the Lift Fund, what kinds of businesses do you think that's going to help the most? Like, what should we be thinking of if we're going to try to spread that information around? Like, who should we think of when we think about the Lift Fund businesses? You know, obviously you kind of set that revenue number, but just like, you know, like you're saying, the mom and pops, like, are most restaurants going to fall underneath that, you know, kind of limit on revenue, or are we talking about maybe even smaller businesses than that?
Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. One of the directions that we gave when we created this was that we want the priority to be for those businesses that are most affected by the governor's stay-at-home order. And so it's focused, not, I want to say focused, but the priority is those businesses that were deemed non-essential, that are essentially shut down right now. So that's the priority. That's not saying that it's exclusive to those businesses, but those businesses are getting priority.
Okay,
so
great.
that's going to be like nail salons, you know, barbershops, you know, just those businesses that you just you can't get to right now because they're just not open.
Yeah, completely closed and can't do any even sort of supplemental work. Like I get, like you're saying, the restaurants, they can still maybe do delivery and drive through, but there's some businesses out there right now that are completely shut down, can't do any business at all, and those are the ones we want to try to help with that. Okay, great. You know, we want to spread the word to the right people, and that's something I want people to be thinking about is, hey, yeah, like I like the example of the barbershop, like they can't cut hair right now, and that's, you know, that's something that you'd want to make sure that small business can stay afloat and come back, you know, when things pick back up.
Yeah. So those businesses are the priority.
Okay.
One other thing is that you know, back when Harvey hit, the mayor created his Hurricane Harvey Relief Fund. Well, now he's modified that to he renamed it to be the Mayor's Disaster Relief Fund, and so he's getting donations, and that money is going through the Coastal Bend Community Foundation, and it'll be distributed to several non-for-profits here in the city of Corpus Christi that are providing services for the community. And just a short list is like a United Way, the food bank, just those that are providing services for those people that may have been affected by the stay-at-home order that aren't able to make ends meet.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of neat. I have seen several things in our own business and in our community. Things that we learned from Harvey are applicable again now. You know, it's a different kind of disaster, but at least some of the things we learned, we're able to kind of reuse them now, and that's kind of nice to have a little bit of context. What's the next step? What do you see the city doing next? Like from where we sit right now, what should we be waiting on to hear or know kind of what the next couple weeks look like?
Well, like you mentioned earlier, you know, this changes day by day, and so it's hard to predict, you know, what it's going to look like in the next few days. But we want to make sure that we keep an eye on the number of positive cases that come in, and I think that's going to kind of be a litmus test on what we do moving forward. I think if we start seeing a trend one way or the other, good or bad, that's going to determine the direction that we take.
Okay. Have they given you guys any guidance, if you can share it? Have they given us any guidance around like when the peak will happen in our area?
Well, you know, there's we have the university that is doing some modeling right now, and they're going to have a report ready tomorrow, actually.
Okay.
And so you'll be able to see that at the same time I see it when you go to the city's website or the city's Facebook page to get that update. But they're doing modeling for us, and they'll give us a really good indication on what kind of peak, if there is going to be a peak, or maybe it's already happened. I don't know yet, but we'll get that information tomorrow.
Okay. I guess the good news would be that if somebody thought we were already at the peak, maybe we would know that, or that there'd be some indicator that we're already there, or that we've passed through it. So yeah, let's wait for that information and see what the data tells us. Great. Any other parting thoughts you have for small business owners in Corpus that you'd want to share? Something encouraging for those that are trying to redefine their business and still get work done, or deal with the fact that they're closed?
Well, you know, going through this whole process, you know, I'm feeling the effects myself. I'm a small business owner, and we've had to make some modifications in the way that we do business. Um, but and that is kind of a good thing, because once we get past this, we're just going to be able to utilize this as another vehicle in our sales toolbox. And so hopefully that'll help us to engage more customers and be more accessible than what we are right now. So that's a silver lining to what the situation is right now.
Right. I guess a lot of people are learning new things and learning new ways to do their same business, you know, kind of given the restrictions. So yeah, I like the idea that we'll be better when this is over, and that we'll be able to implement and work on some of these things, you know, that we changed that might be good changes. You know, there's some things that I would like to go back to normal, but you know, we'll learn
Definitely.
some things in the middle, you know, things that are also helpful. Well, great. Well, Ben, thanks for being with us today. I appreciate your time and you joining us. I want to go on to our next section here. So one of the things we've been seeing, we've been getting some guidance from the FBI and other security-related folks talking about how this is prime opportunity for phishing attempts and hacking attempts and people getting you know, spam email that's tricky. So I want to cover a couple things here for folks to think about while they're at home, while they're working, or while, you know, the COVID is going on. So first, I want to cover some password best practices. So I've been at home now. This is the end of my 4th week working from home. I have done a lot of, I will call it spring cleaning in my house. I went through some closets and I reorganized some things in my garage. And, you know, because our life slowed down quite a bit, I was able to spend time kind of cleaning some things up. Well, something that you can think about spring cleaning is going to be your passwords and your password management. So I'm going to give you some tips around password management that you guys can go and work now. So one of the things that we get right now, guidance-wise, we call it a password, but we really would like to see our clients using passphrases, if you will. And a word's not sufficient anymore. A long time ago, a word was a sufficient way to password protect something. But we really like the idea of phrases. They're easier to remember, they're longer, and in the hacker community, the longer the password, the more difficult it is to guess or crack, if you will. So we look at passphrases. So the example we like to use is, let's pretend you're somebody that likes the Beatles. Come up with some passphrase that kind of matches one of your interests so that you can remember it. So your passphrase could be, I love the Beatles, or 1 John, 2 Ringo, 3 George, 4 Paul, if it has to have some numbers in it, or Hey Jude is number 1, like, you know, some phrases that help you remember your password so that you can increase the password's length and so that you can increase its complexity. That makes it much harder to guess by a hacker, but much easier for you to remember. Believe it or not, the top 7 passwords right now are some combination of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. People often use the top 7 letters on the keyboard, QWERTY. People still use the password. These are the top ones that we see when they do studies on hacked and guessed passwords. So having a complicated password by making it longer is a great thing to do. Second, be cautious of any email asking for your username and password. So anytime you get an email that says, click this and log in here, that should be like a red flag to you. That should make you stop what you're doing and really scrutinize that email. Banks, PayPal, IRS, Office 365, very rarely to almost never will give you an email with a link that says log in here to do something or another. It's the exact same thought process when you get a phone call, and if the person on the other end of the phone call just said, hi, and don't know your name, hi so-and-so, can I have your social security number? You would have a feeling and you would say, I don't want to give them my social security number. I'm going to stop what I'm doing. You should have the same feeling if an email ever asks for your credentials. Stop what you're doing, scrutinize the email, make sure that it's a legitimate email. It's most of the time not going to be a legitimate email. Avoid reusing passwords. we like to say that passwords are like underwear. Don't share them with people, change them regularly, and don't leave them on your desk. So don't use the same password over and over and over again in a lot of your different tools. The little graphic there is representing the fact that you wouldn't want your email password to be the same as your Wells Fargo password, and you definitely don't want it to be the same as your Netflix password or your Facebook password. Some of those ancillary services that we use are more susceptible to being hacked. Banks have lots of security protocols in place. Likelihood of Wells Fargo getting your password, getting their password database hacked is tiny. Likelihood of Netflix is more. So it's likely that someone could hack Netflix, get a group of passwords, but then turn around and use those same passwords with Wells Fargo. So you want to try to keep that from being the case. So don't reuse your passwords between your tools. Protect your password list. Use a password manager. Don't save all your passwords in a spreadsheet or a sticky note on your desk. Like I said earlier, password and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are some of the most common ones that are still being used. Please stop using those. Protect your password list and use a password manager. Lastly here, don't mix business and personal email sort of traffic, if you will. It's bad business if you want to be taken seriously to not have a free email provider. And then second, all of the free email providers have a really big target on their back. It's really easy for hackers to go through and try to find AOL email account passwords, Gmail account passwords, Hotmail, etc. All of the free email providers out there, those are big targets for people trying to hack and look at passwords and guess passwords that people have. And then what you find out is that if they've mixed personal and business email together, when that account is hacked, they have access, the hacker, the bad guy, has access to a lot of information that they maybe wouldn't have had you had those things separate. Your business account, your banking account, your this and that and the other on the business side, and then your personal email and your personal accounts and these other things on the other side too. So you want to keep those two things separate best that you can. One, it's more professional, and second, it kind of limits your exposure. So all of those things are about how to keep track of your passwords. One other thing I wanted to talk about today, though, was something that we call multi-factor authentication. Everyone in the security community, and if you're one of our clients, this is something we've probably talked to you about already, but something that we really want to make a push for in the security world. This is one of the best things you can do to prevent your accounts from being hacked, multi-factor authentication. I'm going to try to explain it in a super simple way. The definition of it is that you have two-factor authentication. It adds a second layer of security to your online accounts. You verify your identity using a second factor, like a phone or a mobile device, and it prevents anyone but you from logging in, even if they know your password. So when we talk about multi-factor, we say it's something you know, which is your password, and something you have, which is like your phone. So for them to hack your account, they have to have both things. They'd have to have your phone and they'd have to know your password. It's like every spy movie where they have to put their hand on the door to get through the door. Like you have to have the person's hand to get through the door. So the way that this works is that you go to a website that uses multi-factor authentication and you have to enter your username and password just as usual. And then secondly, you would use your phone, excuse me. Secondly, you'd use your phone to verify your identity and securely log in. I'm sorry. Securely log in once you've used your username and password and your phone to securely. So it's a securely log in once you've used your username and password and your phone to securely. So it's a three-step process. Username and password on the computer, verify the identity on the phone. I want to show you what that looks like. So Straight Edge and our clients use a product called Duo, and this is their little example. So imagine that this is any website. This could be your Office 365 login. This could be your bank account. This could be lots of different websites. But pretend that you have a website that you're trying to log into. The first thing that's going to pop up is your normal username and password. So you can see there, D. Miller, Straight Edge Technology, and then the field to hold my password. As soon as I successfully log in with my username and my password, the second prompt comes up. This is the This is the second factor, the two-factor authentication. So the second thing it asks me is, great, now that you've used username and password, I want to confirm that you have your phone. So I want to do one of three things. In the product we use, Duo, it has these options. One's called Duo Push. One could send me a text message on my phone with a 6-digit PIN number that I would then put in there for the passcode. Or lastly, it actually can call your phone number and you can hit a button and respond to the phone call if that's easier for you to do. The one I like the most is the one that's called the Duo Push. So I log in with the username and password. I then am prompted for the push. I click Duo Push, and on my phone, this is what happens. So you can see over on the far left screen, I've got my phone open, and it dings and lets me know that there's a request for me to log in. And I go, okay, well, was that me? I think that was me. Okay, great. So I click on the little pop-up, and then I get this screen in the middle that's basically for me to approve my login to that website. So I decide that I'm able to log into that website, and I'm able to, it's going to allow me to log into the website once I hit that two-factor section. So first section that happens is on the email, and email account, username, and password. Second is where I'm able to allow the two-factor authentication. One little neat feature about Duo is it even supports like your Apple Watch. So your watch will buzz and you can approve your login from your Apple Watch. So in the sense of two-factor, it makes it really simple. We like the push. That's way better than maybe the 6-digit PIN, easier for people to work through. One other question we get a lot around two-factor authentication is, how often are you required to two-factor? So the times that you would need a two-factor are the ones that we have listed here below. And the reason that these are the times that you would two-factor is that these are the ways that the bad guys, this is how hackers are able to usually hack your account. So you're going to have to two-factor anytime you were to change your password. I guess I should back up. What this means is that you don't have to do the two-factor authentication every time you log into that website necessarily. Sometimes you're going to be able to two-factor authenticate just the first time you log in after you've changed your password. And then after that, it's going to remember who you are and not make you two-factor every time. Second thing is new devices. So this is supposed to protect the fact that if it's not your computer that you normally use that's trying to log in, it wants to use that second factor of authentication and make sure that you are the right person. This prevents people in other locations, out of the country, for instance, that might be trying to log in and use your username and password. Thirdly, new locations. So if you change, like if you log in one state and then you log in another state, that sometimes can be a trigger for the two-factor authentication. Basically, the tool you're using, like Duo, is going to identify the times when you're most at risk to someone guessing your password, and then it's going to require that two-factor authentication to make sure that it really is you. That's the whole idea. It's just trying to prove that it really is you. You know the password and you have the person's mobile phone. You'll see some different abbreviations I've even used in this presentation. One is MFA, multi-factor authentication. Sometimes you'll hear people say 2FA, two-factor authentication. It's the same concept. Sometimes it has different names. The other reason that the other times that you would have to two-factor is based on any other rules. So if it's mandated by your compliance or a company policy, there might be some companies out there that would require two-factor authentication every time you log into that website, or every time you do a certain thing. A lot of banks require two-factor authentication when you do transfer of money. And so every time you do a money transfer, you're going to have to do two-factor authentication, just as one of the compliance rules or a company policy rule around two-factor authentication. Anyway, I wanted to try to give everybody a real sort of brief explanation of what two-factor is. We see this as the future of security, the future of identity management, or like the ability to make sure that the person that actually is that person is the one that's logging in. If you have any questions about two-factor authentication, reach out to us and we can talk about it. We love the tool that we chose. We use it internally on every tool that we use. We have to two-factor authenticate to get into our email, our remote monitoring tools, our security platforms, our banking accounts, our ticketing accounts. We use multi-factor authentication on everything. So we've gotten really used to it, and we also found a tool that was really efficient and easy to use. You know, we want to position things to our customers that we also use and believe in, and this is one of those things that we use a lot and believe in. If there are any questions, if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat, you know, section right now, or you should be able to unmute and respond in here. But you know, thanks, and everybody stay safe. You know, we're all in this together. I've been on the phone with a lot of different business owners, business leaders over the last couple of weeks. I'd say most people are pretty optimistic that we're going to get through this, and that their businesses will be slightly different, but still in good shape when this is over with. And you know, that's what we want as a community. We want to grow together, and we want to make sure that everybody is successful together and weathers this storm, and so that we can kind of get back to business as usual. I want to thank Ben again for being on today, and we just appreciate him taking some extra time out for us and to help get the message out there into the community about what we're doing to deal with COVID and working from home. So appreciate everybody's time today, and thank you. See you later next week.